Hello, everyone. Welcome to this special session of the Martin API office hours. Let's get started. Today, we have an interesting topic to cover since we're going to be giving you live updates all the way from Cloud Next 2025. You'll hear the latest announcement for Apigee and Application Integration. So let's get started. For those who are new to this community is intended for those enthusiasts in Apigee and application integration and all things about APIs and integrations. So the goal for this session is for you to find a community that can empower your knowledge sharing as well as adoption and feel that you have a connected community across the world that you can rely on. We have different spaces, such as the community in the Google Cloud Community Spaces with the forums, the articles, and these special sessions for you. The simple rules for these sessions is typical. We'll have a deep dive presentation by our Google experts. Then at the very end, we'll go to the office hour, which is our Q&A space for you to bring any topics you would like to discuss, even if it relates to the topic that it was presented, on any other questions you may have about Apigee or app integration. We're going to meet every Thursday. These sessions are recorded, so rest assured if you want to catch up on any of the insights we share, you will be able to get these through the Google Cloud community. And we always like to make this call. If you'd like to be in this stage, you are more than welcome. This is a space for the community, so we'd love to have you here sharing your knowledge with the community. With that, I'll remind you that we have the Q&A section, or you can just drop your questions in the chat, whichever way works best for you. And now we're going to be having today with us in a different way, Matt Feigal, which is the Partner Engineer Specialist in the Europe, Middle East, and Africa region. And Tyler, who's going to be walking us through the latest updates. So Tyler, I'm going to hand it over to you. Welcome, everyone, and thank you for joining us.
Yes, thank you, Alex. Great. So today is for sure a bit of a different format than usual, but very exciting. When I was going through some stuff that Matt shared with us this morning, so nighttime for him in Las Vegas, I really had the feeling kind of like being there, which is cool. So I hope you also get the vibes and get the feeling of some of the updates that came from Next yesterday in Las Vegas. Today, of course, is the developer keynote, where there's a lot of cool technical demos and technical content coming today. So looking forward to seeing that as the day rolls on. But let's jump right in. If anything, you have questions or anything's unclear or you want to dive deeper in any topic, just jump in. This is an interactive forum, interactive session. So that's the advantage here. We don't have a script we have to get through. It's all kind of stuff that we thought would be interesting. And we really value your interaction, your questions as well. So let's dive right into it. First of all, we have an introduction from Matt coming live from, not live, but halfway live from Las Vegas.
Hey everyone, this is Matt Feigal checking in from Next 25, where we're about to start the partner province councils, where all of the execs from your partners are going to meet our average PMs. See you soon.
Yes, so Matt ran a partner council yesterday, where there was all kinds of partners from around the world gathered to talk with their PM, with product managers, and also with extended team. And so let's get into some interviews with Scott, starting off with Scott Holland, the PM for Application Integration.
Hi, who are you? Hi, I'm Scott Holland. I run product for Application Integration, Google Cloud's iPaaS.
Great. And you just spoke at our Apigee Partner Product Council to a bunch of our partner executives. What did you learn about our partners doing that?
I was really impressed by how deeply they're thinking about the complex requirements that our customers have, especially around the areas of governance. And we talked a lot about agent space and how application integration can help with that. And their concerns were about how do we control the number of agents, who's going to create agents, how do we put governance around that, and how do we make sure that our customers are getting the value that they need from the solutions that we're offering from Google.
Cool. So that was just some words from Scott on what people are talking about there on the conference floor. And what I found very interesting, and these are kind of discussions I've had as well in the past weeks, is how to put governance and structure around agents, right? So agents, of course, are based on LLMs. They're super flexible and dynamic, right? Reacting to different types of questioning and different, conversational directions that they get from the conversation. And then thinking about those workflows, deterministic workflows, right, that sometimes need to be in the background to do something, specific, right? So no longer open-ended, but rather, update this order, create a ticket, do this type of thing, right? And that's exactly where application integration is positioned itself, is fitting in these conversational flows through tools in agent space. And we'll be getting into that in more detail as we go along. But basically, I think that's a really good framing for how integration fits into the agent world and specifically agent space moving forward. Cool. So let's move on to the next one. This is from a partner.
Hi, I'm Paul Williams. I'm representing EPAM.
And what did you learn at the Partner Product Council today that was most exciting about Apigee for you today?
I was really excited to learn about the depth of thought that's being put into what's going to be required for customers in 2025 and beyond. And I really am looking forward to implementing that with my customers.
Awesome. Thanks. So, well, what did you mean specifically about depth of thought, or is it a specific area, or?
So it's really interesting to me about how Apigee is expanding into a lot of the different thought areas that includes APIs, yes, but also AI and platforms and iPaaS and other areas that I think my customers are going to really find interesting.
Awesome. Thanks.
I love seeing that classic Appy Geek for Life t-shirt. I don't know if anyone's got one of those still around, but that's going way back in the Apigee swag world, swag days. Exactly. So bringing together APIs, AI, workflows, integration, I think is kind of top of mind for everyone, right? And I think it's really interesting to get those voices directly from the conference floor, just like we're there. Next up is Emily Ryan. She's partner lead for partner organization in EMEA North. So let's hear from Emily.
Okay, who are you?
Hi, I'm Emily Ryan. I'm leading partner engineering for the EMEA North region.
Great. From the Partner Council today of Apigee, what did you learn that you want your Europe North partners to know about?
Yeah, so I think obviously we're positioning agent space, but beyond the simple agent space connection and overlay is such a rich ecosystem. So where you have so many like custom systems, each country might have different CRMs or document stores or marketing tools that they're using, and like the partners know this, and they should be the ones that are helping to deepen those connections to really build out the agent space implementation. And Apigee is right in there as well.
Perfect. Thanks.
Cool. So what I really liked about that is the focus on specific like regional and country specific integrations to different CRMs. I know especially so here in Europe, different countries have their regional players, right? Who a lot of the CRM or ERP or specialty industry players, right? And then getting those connected into the ecosystem through connectors, through application integration, and then through that connected into the larger agent space ecosystem, which we are moving towards. But first, we're going to hear from Yuri. Yuri is, he works for SoftServe here in the region. So let's hear from Yuri.
So, Yuri.
Hello guys, my name is Yuri. I am an engineering director and head of API integration practice within SoftServe.
How did you lose your voice?
Yeah, it will party so hard, so I broke my voice. Thank you to Matt and the Google Cloud team.
And what was the most interesting thing you learned today from the Product Council that you want to go try out or experiment with?
Technically, AI and Apigee, how they could be combined together. So, what together with my team, we are going to build POC based on the information team shared with us. And I guess, grabbing different data sources for agents, this would be a hot topic, and this is what we're going to propose to our clients.
Ah, cool. Why do customers need Apigee for this instead of just doing it, going directly to the AIs?
Yeah, basically what I see is that rate limiting is very cool feature that could, limit the amount of the tokens and so on. Security is the second part. What in my opinion, is very important because we don't want to lose the data, and various compliance, because typically enterprise data is very secured and sensitive. So each customer in healthcare, telecom, and retail, they want to be protected. This is why Apigee and how it could help, alongside with application integrations that has already connectors to get the data.
Cool. All right. What's the coolest thing you saw in Las Vegas so far?
Technically, I participated in building the Google Next, stages, because I'm kind of staff engineer there, and I saw how it looks when nothing happened, no any booths and so on, and now I will see, entire, organization, all the companies, and I guess this is the coolest part, how in 2 days it can be, built into, magnificent size.
Cool. All right. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I've seen this type of thing, right? Seeing a conference come together in 2 days is truly, at that scale, right, with 30,000 people, that is just truly impressive. The topic Yuri was talking about, so putting Apigee in front of all the AI models that you want to leverage in an organization. I was just working with this week with a customer here in Germany, putting Apigee for one API endpoint behind multi-models, right? So Gemini, Mistral, different models from Vertex AI Model Garden, and enforcing that consistent management, right? Token management, token limiting, using model armor in the requests and the response to screen for PII data, to mask any data that might sneak in through the prompts, right? Yeah, so having that consistent management across the AI models is super interesting. So I guess you could call this AI gateway approach, right? This is going to be, I think, just more and more important as we move forward, right? As we're getting more models, more usage of the models, more agents, more apps, right? Securing those API endpoints. And the cool thing is, something we're working with this customer is just customizing the API endpoint in the Vertex AI SDKs, right? So developers can just use the JavaScript, TypeScript, Go, Java SDKs for Gemini or for Vertex, right? And just put in their endpoint, which can be the Apigee endpoint, right? So all the SDKs just run as before, right? So pretty cool stuff. And of course, some of the biggest announcements yesterday, I don't know if anyone or all of you, some of you have had time to watch the keynote on YouTube. Really good show. I really enjoyed it. There was a lot of impressive developments, right? Ironwood, new TPUs, new generation of TPUs, infrastructure topics, but then of course the big topic of agent space, right? And a common question is, okay, if we're looking at the overview of agent space, what is Apigee and how does Apigee and application integration fit into this overall picture? And that's actually in 2 ways. And I know that Christopher and also Lewis, I saw you guys in the call. Feel free to jump in if you have any additional points or any corrections if I say something that's not quite 100% correct. But first point is here in the connectors. So agent space brings some connectors out of the box to typical enterprise data sources, right? Like Salesforce, Box, of course, Google Workspace, but also Microsoft and others. But then you can also leverage the application integration connectors as well, right? Which there's a lot of connectors that are, to messaging systems, queuing systems, other different types of data, different types of services, and the super flexible part of custom connectors, right? So being able, basically building an extendable library of connectors that can all be tapped in and utilized by the agents, right? So that's one very important aspect. Second aspect is here. Oops, let me go back. Is here in the Gemini and third-party agents area. And this is a question I also had from a customer just this morning, was that, if Gemini is being utilized for agent space, right, for like kind of running the main conversation, how do other models and how do the other agents fit into that story, right? And maybe some of you have used the agent builder tools, or now it's all being packaged into agent space, but basically ways of creating agents to do specific tasks. And those are exactly the plugins basically that you can add here under third-party agents. And these of course can use tools, they're called, that are APIs that are running in Apigee, and API Hub in Apigee is kind of becoming the tool repository for tools that agents can leverage, right? So that's basically the further aspect, right? So connectors here into the base conversation, and then extending the platform with new agents, extended agents that utilize tools from the enterprise tool and API Hub repository. So that's what I'm, that's my understanding of what I'm digging into, is to get an overall picture of this. If you look at some of the updates we're going to get to, then you'll see exactly how this is coming together. But just to give that overview, that overall context. Cool. So the next one is a real highlight. This is a live agent space demo with SAP and application integration that Matt did together with the PMs right on the conference floor. So I really enjoyed this demo. I think you're going to love it. So let's go ahead and take a look.
Okay, who are you?
Hey, I'm Pramod, product manager for application integration.
Okay. And we've seen you before, but
Hi, I'm Scott, also product manager in application
Okay.
integration.
Pramod, what are we working on here today together?
We are going to go ahead and build an agent in less than 5 minutes to any of your enterprise applications. Now, we have just built an agent to your SAP. Let's see that in action.
Let's take a look.
So we have an SAP here, as you can see, to the SAP instance. And now we are going to interact to that SAP instance using an agent. I'm going to say, let's meet the first 2 business partners. And it is actually knows what to be done. I've not written a single line of code. It actually understood how to go and make a call. It got the response back and it gave me the details here.
Okay. Should we try and add a partner?
Yeah, we can add a new.
Just to warn everyone, we tried this. We ran into a little trouble here, but it's interesting to see what happens.
Accenture.
Okay, what's it doing as it tells us what happens as each thing comes up?
Our network is slow here.
Okay. Oh, whoa,
Anyway, don't worry.
that was exciting.
Please provide me the details of the just let's see. 67.
So just to give everyone some context with what's going on, right? So they have an agent running in like an agent console locally on a pronounced laptop. It's connected to an SAP connector, an application integration, and they just said, create a business partner for Accenture, right? So just, one sentence, very small. Basically what it did is that either, of course, that's not enough information to really create a business partner, right? So the connector or agent space gave back this long, description of the data it needs, right? Hey, to do that, I need all these properties, like 50 or 60 properties, right? Now, he said, please just take the data from business partner 67 and use it for this new entry, right? So we're basically seeing if the agent is smart enough to now do a get on partner 67, get the fields, right? Just use those for the fields that it needs, and then of course with the new fields that came from the conversation, and then create the business partner. So let's see if that works.
Tyler, would you mind going
Just
big
use the
screen so
same
that
code
we
as-
can see better the video?
I can try it, but let me see if it works. Yeah.
Let's see. Thank you.
Oh, it works. Yeah, great, perfect. Yeah,
Partner
thank you.
All right.
67, and it requesting, it's doing a get on its own, 67, getting the name from that,
And then doing a create.
getting it, and then doing a create on that.
It did a create.
Okay, is it trying to create?
It actually
And it created. Oh,
number 68.
fabulous. Now it's number 68. Let's get number 68. Let's get the new one.
The details. 68. It should do a get call now.
Doing a get.
Oh, then two.
No, this is the first request. This is the response.
Oh, and
It gave me
the
please
details.
get me this in a table with the most important things.
oh, nice. Ta-da.
Wow.
So next week at the Share and Learn, we're going to show you how to do this.
Very cool. What I loved about that is at the end, so it worked, right? So it creates a new partner, merging data from 67, copied into the new partner 68. Accenture was the name. And then, but of course, it returned this huge data, right? All the 60 properties from SAP. And then all he had to do, and this is the value of agent space, right? Is all he had to do is just say, hey, please put this in a table and just give me the top 5 fields, right, that I can verify that it's there. And of course, name was Accenture, and then the other fields coming from the other records. So very cool. I think that showed, for me, that kind of really demonstrated the possibilities of agent space, where with conversation, context, even if something is this huge operation, you can still work with the data, and agent space will help you make sense of it, boil it down, convert it, use other services to extend it and stuff like that, right? So I think it's really getting interesting what we can do with these tools, right? And agent space is kind of the glue to bring all of that together without having to program or code anything, right? So it just does it based on the context, LLM support, and the different connectors and types of data that it can tap into. Cool. So let's go to the next one. I hope you enjoyed that. Kind of had the feeling of being there, right, in the demo section at Next.
Okay, who are you?
So the next one that we had was actually published as a Google Cloud Community tutorial. I think it was yesterday or earlier this week. And this was a really cool one from Matt Hartman, customer engineer based in the US. And basically what Matt did is he took a couple of different components, including application integration, the Open Legacy platform to connect with legacy systems. So Open Legacy, if you're not familiar, is a partner who provides connectors to interface with mainframes and AS400 systems and other legacy systems. And then also agent space, right? So kind of connecting this full chain from absolute legacy integration workflows and then to agent space. And so let's just kind of go through that. There's some highlights of this video. We're not going to watch the whole thing, but I thought there's really cool bits that we can look at. And this will give us some interesting insights in how this can work. So let me make this full screen as well. That's working. And I'm going to mute Matt because let's just go through this together. I really recommend taking a look at the full tutorial that he published because it's really cool. Has a lot of interesting stuff in it. But just at a high level, this is basically, of course, having an agentic framework, so testing an agent in agent space, using application integration, having triggers set up that interface with different systems like Salesforce and also AS400 system, and of course using Vertex models for the conversational aspects. So let's take a look moving forward. So basically, Matt created this integration. The first trigger or the first flow that he has is an account lookup for the agent. This goes to Salesforce and then to the Open Legacy connector to the AS400, right? I think basically getting orders for the account, right? So this is, getting, you can basically chat and say, hey, what are the latest orders for this customer? And we'll see this as an example at the end. Then we have the Open Legacy connector, which is connected to the AS400 system. And this is a custom connector, by the way. So these things you can very easily add to any legacy system, right? A custom connector and application integration means that you just basically have an open API spec that describes the operation, that gives the metadata, and then you can add it and work with it like any other connector within the application integration workflows. So that's configured here in our flow. The next flow is a ticketing agent flow. And the use case is that, okay, you're looking up the orders and a customer service agent sees something's wrong with an order, or the customer requests that a ticket should be created or something should be returned or something's not right with the order, right? So the second flow we have is a ticketing agent to a ticketing system. And so this flow is allowing us to create tickets, for example. And if we run through this, basically then creating an app in agent space that's an e-commerce agent, right? So that customers could chat with about their orders, about their tickets. And then let's get to the demo to see, of course, the agent configuration with the tools that are connected into our application integration flows. Yes, and this is a very important part. I wanted to show that because this is really cool, is that there's a new button in the application integration that you can create a conversational, an agent space tool, we call it, right? So a connector to a flow or to an API directly from within application integration, right? So from any flow, you can just click the Create Conversational Agent tool. You select which trigger should be used by this tool, do all the configuration for, okay, which app should be used, create a new one or update an existing one. And this, hey, I just see that Matt joined. Hey, welcome, Matt.
Good morning, everybody, or good evening.
Good evening. We just went through all of your cool demos and content from Next. How's it going?
Cool. I just thought I would join for any Q&A, longer Q&A, different questions than were covered in the videos too. So, my voice. Discovering my voice needs a little bit of work. But,
That's what Las Vegas does to you, I think. Yeah, I think that's pretty
exactly.
Pretty common, yeah.
It was karaoke last night did it to me.
Oh, right. I'm sure. Yeah. That sounds great. Yeah, we were just going through this agent space demo here, but yeah, I'll just finish this and then we can do some Q&A based on your content. That sounds great. In any case, just to finish this is a button directly in application integration. We can create tools. These can be leveraged from agents, right, that are connected into agent space, published in Dialogflow in your apps, right? And then basically the result is, if we test out our agent, and let's just play this, is that our customers can inquire about their orders. So I'm looking for all the orders. And this is, of course, if we go, and I love the execution logs and application integration, right? So we can see exactly the flow and what's going on. Okay, yeah, we looked up the order from our order management system. This is going through the Open Legacy connector, right? And then we can, start saying, hey, I'd like to create a ticket for this particular order. And this will then go to the ticketing system. And I think this is really the potential of agent space, right? Is that it is like a mesh of agents. I think Christopher used that word this morning, is like a mesh of agents. And agent space is like the glue that utilizes them all together into a seamless conversation with the user. So now he's going to create a ticket for that particular order. So verifying that the data is correct. And now it's thinking, right? And thinking, okay, which tool, which agent could I go to? Goes to our ticketing agent to create the ticket. And of course, we can see all the flow information in our execution logs. And it was created. So just a simple example, but it's a great use case, great example that Matt created there. I recommend going through that. And I think this type of thing is going to be super powerful moving forward. Cool. Then let's then go on. So Matt, any updates since your videos that you want to share? Anything else that, or I guess actually you've just been sleeping, I'm sure, right? So you just got up, I guess, in the morning. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, yeah, definitely no updates since yesterday because everyone was asleep or partying.
Yeah, I thought Las Vegas never sleeps, but okay, yeah, sure.
I was thinking it's interesting that you're just showing the agent space demo from Matt Hartman, and I think one thing I've noticed, of course, that it's a little bit of a confusing time for all partners and customers because we've got the agent development kit, what you're showing now, the agent-to-agent protocol, the agent space application integration. So obviously we're all going to have to navigate that together. There's some good decks describing that. And I think one of the things I saw at the Partner Product Council is that Todd and Scott went through a lot of detail about the naming and what was what, and that helped a lot. we also hosted a Cloud AI one where the agent space PM went through that. So maybe it's kind of a question for this community over time. Maybe we need to bring some of that more clarification questions to everyone so everyone understands, because they're all really useful and they all have their own use cases. But if you're out there trying to figure out which use case to use, how do you differentiate between all of these? So that's one thing that we covered in the Partner Product Council. Maybe we just bring some of those slides or bring some of those details to this group. Let's see, updates. Maybe it's more not like quite updates, but it's things that didn't get into the recordings. I really liked seeing kind of an end-to-end security story from Megan Bruce, the PM, outbound PM for API security, and a whole bunch of partners in the call took photos of that slide. And I'm already setting up some meetings with her between your partners and their customers. So I think we should bring that one because it was this, she had a great slide that was talking about the OWASP top 10 of, web attacks and how Cloud VPN and just basic Apigee things cover that. And then how you extend to the top 10 OWASP of APIs and how advanced API security tackles those. And then how the model armor that we have that tackles the top 10 OWASP of LLMs. And that meant like across this whole chain, you had these sort of 4 products that work together to just tackle any of these top 10 things, right? Which was a really nice way. Because when I talk to partners, or I guess when partners talk to customers out there, they get confused by all these 4 different, all these different options. How do they fit together? Where you do you at? And there was just a nice, really clear narrative. And of course, she gave that in the perspective of our customers and partners lining up to secure LLMs, but it was just securing that whole chain of things, right? Yeah. Maybe think of another question while I think of something else, because there was a couple of really good details that came up in the product council that I'd like to bring to this group later.
Yeah, absolutely. So I was having some conversations this morning with a customer, and the security chain was a really interesting topic because they started out with like, okay, I can add policies in Apigee, right, to do JSON threat protection, or to screen the payloads or check for different things. But then we did it to API security, right, which basically does this kind of automatically, and it's the same for model armor, right, where basically you just enable it and then you get these rules applied automatically to the traffic, right? And that's kind of the interesting value proposition, is to say, okay, yes, I can do things manually, right? I can have my own policies, do checks, I can apply the OWASP top 10 for APIs as policies in my Apigee proxies for sure, or I can enable API security and model armor for the LLM top 10 and get these rules applied automatically, plus more, right? Plus the machine learning rules that also are identifying other threats and new threats that are emerging. And so that's interesting to have those options and to kind of understand it through this way, right?
Yeah, and exactly. And then I'm thinking of the other, so that's exactly what she was talking about, and I think it was really great. I think we need to invite her here because we haven't had an update on advanced API security in quite a few months. So I think it would be really good to bring her here, bring that story and like that whole story of LLMs and APIs together. She can bring that. The second thing that I think actually is kind of an update, since we recorded those, we're talking about agents, and that agents, whether you're using the ADK or you're using agent space talking to application integration, they quickly run into trouble when they try to get to complex legacy systems, whether it's reading them or having what are we calling it? Deterministic outcomes, deterministic workflows, which others you're not relying on the LLM to guess. And it becomes very clear to everybody the value of adding application integration underneath there, to the point that at least 3 or 4 customers, one of the customers just sitting in a partner product council, turned to me and said, I'm working with this telco. We built this thing. And we immediately, anyway, so I've had at least 3 or 4 partners talk to me since then about very specific things where they weren't even thinking of it. Like I was talking to a salesperson who hadn't been in the console, talked to him, and he said, "Oh yeah, we're developing agents over here, and we're bumping into this problem." So I think if you're a customer listening, definitely pay attention to this. It's a really nice way to make agent space more effective in your org. And if you're a partner, look at every agent space or agent project you're working on, and this is a way you can add integrate the application integration story into it, because it's really coming up fast. In fact, I think I saw Lutz is on the call. Like Lutz convinced the customers to do exactly that 2, 3, 4 weeks ago, even before this event came out. So.
Yeah, and then mixing that the flexibility of LLMs and then the structure of deterministic workflows where actual process
where you
needs
need
to
it.
happen. Yeah, and then agents
Yeah, exactly.
weaving that together, right, in real time between multiple systems, which is super interesting and cool. What's possible, what's coming there. And that brings us to our next topic, which is the agent-to-agent protocol, A2A, which was part of the keynote yesterday, which I found really interesting. So that went up with a blog post yesterday as well, I believe. And so this is a new structure. If anyone's had time to look into it, but basically a way of connecting agents to agents together and let agents use each other and also manage which operations they can offer, right? And so this looks super interesting when we're thinking more of going even deeper, right? To say that, agents, agent space can already determine quite a bit, but what happens when there's a longer chain that needs to happen, right? That one agent recognizes, okay, we need to reach out to this other system, and to have a structure in place that they can request or tell the user, hey, we would like to reach out to this other system to do this operation. Do you approve? Here's the data that's going to be exchanged. Let the user approve it and then perform that operation, right? So there's already a lot of partners who are signed up to support this. And the thing that kind of really made it real for me was diving into the technical documentation, which they also published. So at the GitHub. And then there is this diagram here I really liked. So basically looking at, and also thinking how this fits together with MCP, right? So the model, what does MCP stand for? Model context protocol or something, right? So basically the kind of the machine JSON RPC standard that's kind of been established to communicate with backend systems, right? From agents. And then, okay, this is basically kind of vertical. So vertical agents that are, connecting to different backend systems using MCP potentially, or application integration workflows, or whatever's needed to orchestrate with those backend workflows or backend systems, right? And then the A2A protocol is the horizontal connection between agents, right? To say when agent 1 realizes that it could use another agent to perform some action, then using the protocol to communicate, get in touch, authenticate, and let that other agent perform the actual operation. There's also discoverability built in, meaning that agents can also register themselves, bring their metadata, and so that the other agents know, right, what everyone can contribute or what they can do. And so I think it's early days, but looks super intriguing and interesting. Just think about this kind of mesh of agents that can perform actions with the user's approval, right? So this all gets communicated transparently in the conversation, which is super cool. So you see which data is being synchronized. You can approve access or revoke access, right? So it's all transparent. And I think we've seen that in agent space if you've played with it. If you even just interact with the Google services, like Calendar or Gmail, right? It's all in cards directly in the conversation, super easy and nice for the user, right? And that's basically putting the structure in place that any type of backend system can provide that really nice interaction within the conversation, right? There's also some sample web apps here, which I really look forward to trying out. Yeah, Matt. Mm-hmm.
I'll finish up on the sample apps, and then I'll comment on MCP a little.
Yeah, so the demo web app, they kind of just show exactly how these multi-agent chains can work with A2A. Really looking forward to trying this out. But basically, you have your front end, you have your host agent, could be agent space, for example, who's orchestrating several agents, and then they are reaching out to different ecosystems, right? And there's metadata through A2A to can communicate what's available in those ecosystems, and this can all flow together in in the overall conversation logic, right? Yeah, Matt, over to you. Go ahead.
Maybe go back to that MCP architecture,
Mhm.
or in the partner console slides I shared somewhere in the Todd section, if those are at hand. Well, let's start here. This is good enough. It's I've been hearing a lot of questions even before I came to Next about MCP, about
Yeah.
sort of like the questions are a little confused, right? Because it's a completely new thing. We're all still looking at it, still evolving very quickly about, our let's see, what's it, do we use MCP, compatible with MCP, what does that mean? And so I think it's good to clarify that for a minute. I got to see Todd Feigal, who's one of our principal engineers on Apigee, talking about it. And the way he broke it down, and I usually trust him, he's very good at analyzing these things. People are looking at MCP as, oh, here's this magic thing. We have a protocol, so we don't have to do anything. And
Right.
the LLMs or agents are just going to be able to reach everything, right? That everything that you can expose on MCP. Yeah, cool, kind of. But what really happens in this story, right, where you've got a developer who's building an agent using the agent development kit. The developer's writing some code. And then right now, the development has to call an API, right? They reach out to an API, which means they need to get an API key, which means they need to know the endpoints, which means they need to know some protocols to talk. So you're writing code. Now you have MCP. You're still writing all that agent code, like the application that's using the LLM. And now instead of calling your API, you're using an API, an MCP client to talk to MCP. So you're still writing all this code and calling something in code, just like you were before. It didn't change anything, didn't simplify anything, except that you didn't, it didn't. And then that MCP client is actually not just talking to your API, it's talking to an MCP server somewhere. So now that developer or somebody has to stick an MCP server in front of the API you're calling, and who's writing and maintaining that. So it's not like it's a bad thing, but it's actually not simplifying that story for the agent developer or for the entire path in terms of like who's it is like adding something. It's adding the power to go talk to more systems and have a standard protocol, sure.
Yeah. Mhm.
But so then you say like, wow, instead of making our lives easier, we've just typical technology, we've made our lives just as complicated and more. So what is when customers or partners are asking, so what is Apigee's story here? Well, how do we evolve here? Well, certainly we're going to be able to talk MCP as well, but I think what you see is you still need to have that API that the model
Right.
talks to, right? Like that still has the MCP server is just going to go talk to your API. So you've just added a hop, and then you still need to manage things like the API keys, as well as start to add additional metadata about the APIs, like when an LLM or MCP is hunting for which API it should call. Yeah,
Mhm.
thanks.
Mhm.
Oops, I'm really zoomed in here. When it's hunting for which API to call, how does it know which is the best one for this use case? Or out of your 100 APIs that you're running in your company, how does it know which ones it's even allowed to use? Because you've probably restricted some, and well, hopefully they don't have
Right.
network path or know about it, but maybe they do. And
So
so
you
that's
still
kind
need
of the story where you
communication
still
authorization.
have Apigee to mainly, you still have Apigee to maintain the API in the bottom left. Actually, that's where API Hub starts
Yeah.
to become a really valuable part of the story, because that is handling all that metadata and who can talk to what,
Yeah.
and things like that. So I think if you skip sort of a few more slides down, you get to one where we describe a little bit more detail in that bottom. No, just leave it there. We've talked through it. We don't need to show it. Well, I think we have to bring Todd back to
Yeah.
we have to bring Todd
To
back
walk
for a
us
more
through it. Yeah.
detailed session there. So
But I've also seen this with MCP, is that it just solves the simple communication between LLM and some backend, right, through a structured RPC JSON communication, right? But and this is super cool for when you're like testing, okay, how could I expose this system to an LLM, right? But then that's like the easy use case. That's like the simple use case, right? But then once you start expanding and wanting to, put this into other workflows and, add additional systems and chains of processing, I have seen this in a LangChain project where the amount of code just gets huge, right? And it's like that all has to be maintained. And I think that's where the topic of governance and how can we reduce the code needed, right, to provide these agentic experiences, and can some of these structures help basically scale this in an enterprise where we don't maybe want to code everything out like a startup might do if they're just starting out or just doing a first use case, right? How do you think about not just the first use case, but the 100th use case or the 1,000th use case? And that's, I think, where the A2A protocol comes in, right? So MCP helps with connecting to one system, but we're going to have a whole mesh or a whole network of systems and API hub plus these protocols, I think, can help. Yeah. Alex, you have a question?
Thanks. Sorry for the interruption. We got a question from Chris. Is it okay if I read that to you?
Yeah, sure.
Do you think there is a place for an integration layer, example Apigee, between two agents, A2A, for added security, observability, etc.?
Between two agents, so across A2A. So there's authentication authorization built in to A2A protocol, right? So somewhere that has to be applied, right, to check, is the user even authorized to do this operation in the system? So I think Apigee, is a natural place to do that at the API level. But honestly, A2A is still new for me, so I just started digging into it today. But that's kind of my assumption at this point, is that a lot of the basics of how our APIs and our communication works is still there, right? But this just helps us orchestrate it together into these, agentic workflows, basically, right? So I think so, but I think it's also it'll be really interesting to explore this further. And I think in coming weeks and sessions, we'll be, getting double clicking and diving deeper into these topics. So really exciting times. Cool. So that was yes. And then to conclude, there was one awesome demo in the keynote, right? And if you haven't watched the whole 2-hour keynote, I just have one. Let's just do let's jump, and I'll show you my highlight, and we'll see if you agree.
Recommendations for your petunias.
So basically, this demo. Has anyone seen this demo? Anyone? Give a thumbs up if you've seen this one. You could tell from the audience reaction in the event, and I guess Matt, you were there, probably in the.
Yeah, but I wasn't in the room. So.
Okay, yeah. But in any case, this one got
they fill up, right? So.
Yeah, sure, absolutely, and customers and everyone has. But it was really cool because there were really gasps in the audience. I mean, this really was impressive. And basically, recommend you check out the full demo. But let's just go through the highlights. So basically, we have an agent here in the e-commerce site, right? And it's helping him, order the right. What does he need to plant 40 flowers in his garden, right? And the agent's helping him along on this journey because he had the wrong stuff, and helping him, what does he need for these particular 40 petunia flowers, right? So let's listen in.
Yeah, I'm taking a look at these now. They look fantastic. Thanks.
Great. Would you like me to remove the standard potting soil and general purpose fertilizer and add the Bloom Booster potting mix and Flower Power fertilizer to your cart?
Yeah, let's go ahead and do that.
Okay, I've updated your cart. Is there anything else I can help you with today?
I mean, not unless you can come over and plant these for me.
Funny you should mention that. We actually do offer professional landscaping services. Would you be interested in a quote?
Yeah, I mean, how much would something like that cost?
For planting 40 petunias, I would suggest a 4-hour appointment, which would come out to $200.
Okay, that's interesting. I'm curious, do you also price match?
Yes, we do price match on occasion, but it's usually on a case-by-case basis.
Oh, in that case, I most definitely saw an ad from one of your competitors, Greenscapes, where they were offering 50% off first-time landscaping services for new customers. You should totally give me that 50% discount.
Apologies, but it looks like that amount is beyond what I'm authorized to approve. Let me check with my supervisor to see what we can do. Just a moment.
So I'm gonna step away from being the human user in this conversation for a moment, and we're gonna go behind the scenes over here to our call center. And so what you're gonna see here in our CRM Salesforce is that our virtual assistant, our virtual agent, has escalated up to a human call center manager, also played by me. And what I can do here is guide the agent through this portion of the conversation without fully taking over the conversation. So you can see here, Patrick is requesting a price match for 50% off offer, and I'll say something like, you know, we can't do that, but we can do 20, say we can do 20% instead. And I'm gonna send this message, and then we're gonna pick up the conversation on the other side.
Good news, Patrick. My supervisor has approved a discount. We can offer you 20% off our landscaping services. I've applied a 20% discount to the landscaping services.
Oh, that's awesome. I'll take it.
Fantastic. Let's get that scheduled. I can have someone out tomorrow from 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. or between 1 p.m. and 5 p.m. Which would you prefer?
Let's definitely do the afternoon time because I have a pickleball tournament in the morning.
Great. You're all set. You'll receive a confirmation email in just a moment with all the details. Is there anything else I can assist you with today, Patrick?
Yeah, do I actually have to pay for the landscaping services right now?
No, we'll just add this to your account. And you can pay once the service is complete. Anything else?
No, I'm just gonna finish checking out here. You've been really wonderful today. Thanks for your help.
You're very welcome. Thanks for choosing Symbol Home and Garden. Have a great day and good luck at your pickleball tournament.
Now that was pretty amazing, right? That entire thing was 100% real and live.
So I love that. 100% real, 100% live. If that's true, which I gotta believe it, then that is pretty amazing. And I think that's what I'm really looking forward to, exploring those types of use cases, especially the handoff to the customer center, customer service agent, and then that seamlessly integrated into the conversation. Very cool stuff. So with that,
I didn't
I'll
hear the
hand-
gasp. Where was the gasp? I didn't hear the gasp. Where was
I'm
the
sorry.
gasp?
That was at the end. People were very. There was
The pickleball thing.
Yeah. When the agent wished him luck on his pickleball.
Yeah, that was amazing.
Things. Then yeah, exactly right. So it's picking up details throughout the conversation. Cool. So I'll hand it back over to Alex. But thanks everyone. Looking forward to exploring these as we go through the year. And yeah, thanks a lot.
Thanks so much, Tyler and Matt. That was a great presentation. I guess now we can jump into the Q&A. So we have shared quite a few updates. Feel free to open your mic, raise your hand, share the question in the chat. Remember, this is an open space where we would love to interact with you. In the meantime, I will be opening our poll so that you can share the satisfaction with this event. Remember that your feedback is crucial to us because it always helps us strive to what you would like to see at these community sessions. So thank you. If you could take some time, go to the below options at your Google Meet and select the poll so that you can give us your feedback. And Tyler, while we wait to get some Q&A going, as usual, if you'd like to go into more detailed feedback, feel free to scan this QR code. All your answers are going to be anonymous as usual. And then these are the latest articles we have been sharing in the community. You will be able to take a look at how to create a test case with application integration, then how to integrate your enterprise context into Agent Space, which is the demo that Tyler walked us through from Matt. And then how you can do the Apigee style bandwidth working patterns, also by Matt. So feel free to jump into the community so that you can take a look at these fresh articles from our warblers. And yeah, no questions about the Vegas? Any intrigue around that?
By the way, I put in the chat a blog post by Erwin Huizinga, who's an old colleague of mine from Netherlands, who's doing DevRel out of Singapore now. And if you want to get a head start on the demo that we're going to bring next week or in the next 2 weeks, you can read that, link to a GitHub repo. It just walks you through getting started. Obviously, it takes a while to set up the infrastructure. You probably won't do it in 5 minutes. But if you're curious about it, that's exactly what we did.
Thanks, Matt. Appreciate that. Alrighty. Then for the other resources that we have for you, you have the Google Cloud Community Space, and there you can engage with us through the forums, through the product articles, and keep engaging in our upcoming events. We'll see you next Thursday, same time and same place for these office hours and Tech Talk. Anything we'd like to add, Matt or Tyler?
No, just that partners are great to go to karaoke with. That was a good night of karaoke, unwinding and having fun and being silly. So yeah. I won't name names of which partners it was, of course, but
That's okay. That gives us FOMO to all of us in the community. But we look forward to keep connecting with you soon. Thank you both for this session. Have a nice day.
Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.